Meanwhile, convicted killer Dylann Roof has spoken to jurors for the first time today. He told jurors, quote, "There's nothing wrong with me psychologically." The jury convicted the 22-year-old for shooting and killing 9 black parishioners at a church in Charleston, South Carolina.
Now the same jury will decide whether he'll get the death penalty or life in prison. Roof is representing himself, and he did not ask the jurors to spare his life. CBS News correspondent Mark Strassmann has been following the case from the beginning. He joins us now from Charleston. Okay, Mark, opening statements were earlier this morning. What can you tell us about those?
Well, first, Roof had to listen to the government explain to jurors why they believe he should be put to death. Essentially 3 reasons: his racial hatred, his impact on the families, the 9 people that he killed, and his utter lack of remorse. They talked about a jailhouse journal that he wrote 6 weeks after the killings, in which he essentially said, "I'd do it all over again." All proof the government believes that he deserves to die. When Roof got up there, as you mentioned, first time he's spoken to the jurors, and he, in a very flat, monotone voice, spoke for less than a minute. He said, "You may have heard that I'm representing myself because I want to prevent evidence of my mental health history being introduced in court," and that is true, he said. Then he pivoted and he said, "But there's absolutely nothing wrong with me psychologically." He has maintained all along he does not have a mental health history, and he wanted to plant that seed in the minds of the jurors, even though many death penalty experts would say that's probably his best hope of escaping the death penalty. We're starting to hear from witnesses, and one more thing, starting to hear from witnesses, and this, the government has warned, is going to be very painful to listen to.
Mark, we've been reporting that Dylann Roof is obviously representing himself, but why are his movements in the courtroom restricted?
Well, both sides have been told to just confine their remarks to the lectern facing the jury. I think a couple of reasons. One is that Roof obviously is not a trained attorney, and he doesn't really understand decorum rules. The second is if he started walking around the courtroom, for instance, if he came too close to the witnesses, some of whom were people that he attacked that night, that could be a problem for those witnesses. And I think then, to make it fair, what the judge essentially said was the rules apply to both sides. You can only go up to the lectern just to address people. I think, all things being equal, a lot of it has to do with the amateurishness of Roof as a lawyer and the sensitivity of the fact that a guy who now has been convicted of killing 9 people is representing himself and addressing folks that he almost killed that night.
And Mark, that was my last question to you as we put up those folks who were killed. Their families are in that courtroom listening to Dylann Roof. How are they feeling? I mean, this must be absolutely devastating and heartbreaking for them to have this man get up and say some of the things that we expect that he probably will say in the days ahead.
Yeah, it definitely can't be easy, Vlad. I mean, they went through some of it in the first phase, the penalty phase, where a number of them got up to speak, at least the folks who survived the attack got up to speak. But now we're going to go one by one through all 9 victims and hear from a number of their family members, and they're going to have to explain to this jury what it's like to lose a loved one to such a senseless killing. And that is going to be wrenching, and that is why the Assistant U.S. Attorney warned the jury today, listen, this is going to be heartbreaking stuff. Let's not kid ourselves here. And so this is going to be very, very difficult for these families to hear.
Mark Strassmann, thank you, Mark.